Hey, welcome back, podcast fans. Welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf, and I'm here today with two of our most frequent guest hosts and guests we've had on the pod, two of our more popular folks here, Heather Greenwood and Manny Rodrigues. Heather, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here again. And Manny, welcome.
I'm glad to be back. Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, how you guys feeling?
Good. Really good. Excited.
Feel ready to go. Ready to share another amazing story on this podcast.
Walking in your purpose. Well, hey, let's get started. We're going to talk today about our Purpose to Impact program.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Now, this was a program created by Nick Craig from the Core Leader Institute. And Nick Craig has been one of our friends. Heather, how long have we known Nick Craig?
We met Nick through reading Nick's work back on the Purpose Activation Committee. And so one of the pre-work articles we would have read, we read long ago on our journey. And that's where we first met him. And then it wasn't until we went to Purpose 2030 in New York that we personally met Nick, and ever since have had a really great relationship with him. And now probably a much more intimate and one-on-one relationship coming out of this.
Yeah, he's been doing this purpose work for a long time, and he's got a cool story about how he kind of got into this work. And he's an author and a best-selling author, and we learned about him during our Year of Purpose in 2019, and then learned about this program. And this program was, and then we kind of got to know Nick personally, and hey, we're reading your stuff, and he said, "Well, what are you guys doing? You have a Year of Purpose and a Purpose Activation Committee, and you're reading all these articles and books." And so we got to know him there and then meet him in person. And then he was, at the Purpose Summit. He's been a regular there every single year. And so they reached out to us several months ago and said, they being Davin and Nick, said, "Hey, we want to bring the Purpose to Impact program to Charlotte. And we actually want to host it in Fort Mill, at the Mill, at Broad River Retail." And I said, "Oh, I don't know if that's such a good idea." Like, he said, "We're going to bring these Fortune 50 leaders and purpose leaders from all over the country and maybe the world, the globe, and to Charlotte." I said, "Well, to Charlotte sounds great. You'll see us there, but you got some great venues." And Davin was like, No. I want them to feel what I felt when I walked into Broad River Retail." And I said, "Yeah, but Davin probably needs a deep cleansing. We may have to replace some carpet." He goes, "No, leave it all. I want them to kind of see it, feel it, sense it." And so when you found out, and Heather, I'll start with you. You found out that the Purpose to Impact program was coming to Broad River Retail earlier this year. What do you think? What was your response?
Well, it's funny because you say it and it brings me back to the moment, because I actually found out via text from you. And I remember that you were on your way on vacation. I was literally in my son's bedroom playing, and I just got this text, Caitlin and I, kind of giving us a high level and saying, "Hey, I'm on my way. Talk to Nick. Go. And my first thought was exactly that. Our carpet is really dirty, so I don't want them to come. And what are we going to do? And when is it going to be? And all these questions. That Caitlin and I had some great introduction calls with Nick and his team, and immediately it just felt right. It felt as they talked about, what does it look like? What does it feel like? How intimate it is in the room. And it's not, 500 people, that it's not 30 people. All of a sudden, it just made a lot of sense to be in Fort Mill, to be with us. And in knowing Nick just makes you feel really good that we can do it. And this is what he's looking for. And Fort Mill is the right fit for the program.
I'm glad you felt that way. Manny, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, well, as you all mentioned, Nick's been a good friend, and it's been really just great getting to know Nick and know his story, know how purpose really has kind of impacted his story, and how he now is such an advocate for kind of teaching this seminar and bringing the seminar to so many. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the calendar is just never ending from a standpoint of things going on. And so it was interesting how this 2-day seminar fell into a point where there was time to, and I was coming off the heels of travel and then getting ready for a really busy season for us. But I was just, honestly, I really felt like this is a great opportunity for us to kind of, continue our purpose story.
Yeah. So Nick wanted to have it in a place where a company was really doing purpose. And so we were told it's going to be a couple dozen people. So we blocked out the dates when they worked with dates that worked for us. And so, so early on, but as we get into it, we're in post Hurricane Helene response. We're in budget season. We've got the Furniture Industry Awards Gala. We've got High Point Market. And so honestly, I'll give you I was so looking forward to it because I always wanted to do the program. I'd see it like in Boston or in London. I was like, hey, can we, I talked to Kelly, hey, let's do a European trip and I'll do this work thing for a couple of days and then we'll go off with the kids. And it just never worked out. We never kind of got the chance to kind of make it happen. So I'd always wanted to participate and go through it. And then as the kind of the days approach, I'm looking at the calendar and I'm getting a little anxiety and I'm like, I don't think I can get this 2 days. I know it's just a great honor to have it, but I think I'm like kind of get out of this. And, but and I'm just giving you, I'm giving you full transparency here, but then, the numbers were going to be a little bit more intimate than we initially thought. Instead of 2 dozen, I think it was just going to be 1 dozen. And they're like, hey, we got a great group for you. We're expecting you. I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to do it. And so it's one of those things, I'm so glad that I did it. Because when do you kind of get to slow down and really just kind of cut all, you can't be plugged in. You've got to cut off all connections, emails, phones, text messages, and go immersive in this. And so there's some pre-work for us. So Heather, talk to us about kind of the pre-work as we kind of led into this.
Yeah, the pre-work kind of got you in the right mindset. What were you walking into? And so whether it be reading, and there was 2 articles to kind of get you to think about authentic leadership and really that purpose to impact. And purpose to impact, we're more familiar with because we had done that in the Purpose Activation Committee. And then really some reflective questions to get you to think. Think about your life, think about the person that you are today and what's made you the person that you are today. So looking at very specific scenarios, writing about them. And I think in just that time of, for me, shutting the door, putting my head down, reflecting and reading really got me focused about what I was about to walk into and kind of step away from everything else going on in the world at that time.
Yeah, those were some they're great articles. And it really, the questions are, you can't answer. You have to they're great prompts because you can't just kind of scribble something out. It's, define your 2 most challenging or difficult life experiences. There's some fruit that's going to come out of that, or just define your 2 most successful leadership experiences. Man, what do you think about the pre-work?
Yeah. So I think Heather did a great job there on the pre-work. It really, I think we said that kind of primes the pump. It really got you thinking and reflecting on, okay, so I need to take some time. And that is, unfortunately, as you'd mentioned, looking at the calendar and the events that we had going on, that was really stressful. It's really stressful to be like, I don't have the time to sit here and walk through leadership accomplishments or walk through stories that impacted or how I show up. What? We just didn't have that luxury to sit back and, but knowing that we had committed to it, you had to make the time. And so I really enjoyed it because we didn't show up cold to the seminar. It really kind of got us in the right mindset, as Heather said, to then be active participants. And we'll talk more about the group settings, but really it was just spending time reflecting and starting to at least initially write down some, just some of those moments that we often will reflect on and that we share at work when things come up. And so it's just kind of jotting down when I think about this, or when it says challenging or things that I'm really proud of, or things that where I learned something, here's what comes to mind really quickly. So it really started that primed that pump of, okay, here's where I would go with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, really well said. And I think we didn't come into it cold, like you said. We had gone through some of that. And so we were kind of maybe able to lean back on some of those exercises in the past. Well, let's talk about the experience itself. So we're there for 2 days. And it was the 3 of us, plus Renee was there for the first day from our team. And then a bunch of people we didn't know from all over the country. So when you kind of got into the room and you're like, hey, you're going to be in this group, and walk through the experience of the 2-day kind of event and what kind of what you felt going into it and kind of how the event flowed through.
Walking into it, for me, there was a lot of nerves. I had talked to Davin weeks prior, and he was telling me about Boston and telling me some of these big moments. And so walking in, I was pretty nervous, thinking about, oh my gosh, am I going to get there? Or I don't know that I have this big aha that I need to have. And so walking in, I think there's some security in going with people that you know. Having Renee there, having you guys there, definitely for me helps, and it's a comfort zone that I have. And then meeting new people, I think there's also that refreshing dynamic. I don't know that person, and so they're learning me, I'm learning them. There's no judgment in the room. And then having Davin and Nick, people and faces that are friendly and welcoming. I think being as small as it was definitely made me feel better. I wouldn't have wanted to do that with 100 people. And I think being in those small groups, being set up in small tables, groups of 4, was really, really nice. Getting to know my group, everything we did with our foursome. And that made it easier. As you progress throughout every section, you became more and more comfortable. People welcomed you. People shared their own scary stories. And so it just became easier and easier, especially walking into day 2. Once you got through day 1, you could do anything.
Yeah.
So
That's well said. Manny, what about your experience?
I'll be really, really honest. I was kind of hoping for the larger the larger room, because if I'm being honest, that probably would have given me, it would have allowed me or given me permission to be like, I can just sit here, I can listen, yeah, I can participate, but there's so many people here, like it'll be okay. I'm just being honest. Like, it really helped me rationalize, like, there's so much going on right now in the business and other things. We have a lot going on. And so just, be here, be somewhat present, but, still keep other plates spinning. And so I really think it was by design. I think it was by design, and it really intentional that it was the cohort that we had, because now there was a responsibility, like an active responsibility. Like when you showed up and I had Heather sitting across from me, I had Chris, and I had Davin, like I had folks that were depending on it. And so I couldn't mail it in with like canned stories. Like someone asks you, like, you got those go-tos. Like, I was like, no, that's not good enough. Like, that's not, they deserve better. And so it really kind of caused an about face for me. Like, to be like, all right, well, clear the calendar. I was like, you're like cell phones away, laptops down. Like, all right, let's do this. And I'm really, really glad that it did, because what came out of the 2 days was some really impactful things that I'm sure we'll get into. And I remember leaving day 1 and talking with Caitlin and saying, hey, all those things that I thought I was going to do on day 2, like take that call or leave 30 minutes for this, like, sorry, can't do it. Need to fully commit. And it was, and then I'll also give credit. We had a really good facilitator. Cause even with that small of a group, like I think Nick and Davin did such a great job of really just kind of walking with us, not like just kind of throwing out things and then like you guys figure it out, like literally sitting with us and walking with us as we went through some of these questions, which is really, really helpful.
It's interesting, the diversity of backgrounds, even though it was a small group, and we have, similar backgrounds being, at Broad River Retail, but different backgrounds and how we got to where we are. But you had the military people who were contemplating going in, either staying in the military or going into civilian life. And then you had people you had a father-son, you had people from different age groups and brackets, whether you're early 30s or 50s or 60s, and because purpose is a continual learning journey.
That's right.
I would say my experience was, one of the things that kind of surprised me was, okay, so I got put into a group with 3 other people. And you're right, like there was no mailing it in. Like now it's going to be, I can't be halfway in. I got to be fully immersive, because every vote counts at this point, because every opinion counts, and all eyes are on you. And so it was part presentation, and then it was part kind of group conversation, the larger group, and then there was breakout sessions. And it was breakout sessions both with you, but on your own, kind of reflecting and writing, and then coming with your cohort group and sharing those. And so where I'm kind of going with this is the speed with which you can really develop a close bond and close knitness with your cohorts who you may have never known or met or have anything in common with prior to, not even knowing their name, where they're from, or what they actually even do, but coming together like that and authentically and I would kind of maybe go last in my cohort and let the others go first. But really be engaged and like, I want to kind of help them out, give them ideas or nuggets. And then like kind of being a little bit nervous. Okay, what am I going to say? But then kind of having it come, shared back. And we grew pretty close. I kind of joked during the session. I was like, I've got the best group. But, during that time, I really felt like my group was awesome and amazing. And I just kind of got luckily thrown with them. I knew nothing about it. So that was one of the things where you're vulnerable, but there's no judgment in it. And everyone's just there to kind of listen to each other and listen for the goodness that comes out of kind of your soul and kind of what's deep within you. So I thought that was really cool. Did the workshop help you discover your purpose? Did you know did it change from what you thought it was going in to what it became afterwards?
It helped me focus mine. I think I've always known, or I've known the root of what it is and where it comes from. I've never actually sat down and wrote the purpose statement. And we've been doing this for a long time, talking about purpose at Broad River. And again, it's always been, I think I know what it is and I feel that. And I think I'm living it in a lot of ways, but I've never sat down and written it. And I think the different thing about our group, which was the best group, just to be clear, was of my group of 4, 2, I know pretty well. And so to sit side by side with Manny, and we've known each other for 8 years and we know a lot about each other, presented a different dynamic. And Davin, who I've known for several years, and then Chris coming into our group, who's an incredible human. I think just having their support as we went through it helped me to really be able to define what my purpose is and feel really good about defining it.
Awesome. What about your experience with, did you know your purpose going in? Did it get kind of modified, or did it really get kind of unveiled when you went through it?
Heather said it really well. For me, the way it showed up, very similar to Heather, is I think the dynamic of our group was unique. And so I love what you said, that you had 3 strangers, and that in itself is unique because you're getting to meet new folks, you're building trust, you're being vulnerable. For us, our dynamic was we had some existing relationships, but we also got the benefit of having someone who didn't know any of us. And so, we had a lot of different perspectives. We had trust there. We had, working history together. And so, when it comes to personal purpose statement, I think what it helped was, there's always, for me, there's always a mindset of kind of just getting, continuous improvement, getting better. And I think that this seminar really, I love that word focus. It really kind of helped kind of crystallize some things, clear up some things. It really helped hearing from Heather, from Davin, who know me in different ways. And then Chris, who didn't know me at all, to hear them, what they were listening. They were really good listeners. And what they kind of said, hey, I've noticed that you mentioned your dad multiple times on this thing. And so, that was like such a gift. It was such a gift that they gave me, because they were just, they were listening. And to your point, I think they were just like providing me with such good feedback on how to further crystallize that, the purpose of what I try to do each day, or try to be each day. And so then you just want to give it I can't wait. Heather would always go first, by the way. Heather
Not choice, but
she would always go first because she was always the most buttoned up in the group, and had things ready. So we really appreciated that on behalf of Chris, Davin, and myself. So it was a gift. It was a gift to have that vulnerability, to feel comfortable, and then to kind of walk away with with something that just continues to, kind of live with us.
Yeah. I don't think that, so I did come out of the 2-day event with a purpose statement that I did not have or contemplate going in. And we'll each need to kind of unveil our purpose statements here in just a moment. But I don't think I get there on my own. You could give me stuff to read and give me prompts, and it's going to probably be longer, wordier. And by the way, I think that's true of everyone in our cohort because they all got kind of shortened. And Nick had some science and intention around that. And we all want to kind of keep saying more to it. Like even when I speak with like Terry, she'll say the short part, then she'll say, and here's the subhead. And there's still even some debate on mine because Nick says it's just this, and Davin says, well, I think you need to add this other part. So there's still a little bit of internal debate, and that can constantly be debated, but I don't think I get there on my own. And so I think that like we can debate whose group was the best, and Sean, Kip, and Terry, we all know, but I would tell you that like the ingenuity, I thought like who knew like Sean was this crazy like wordsmith, and he would just come out with these descriptive words, and that Terry and Kip would come out with these excavated like hidden treasures that were lurking beneath. I'm like, oh gosh, that's amazing. But then also like I got super excited about like trying to like really go in and listen in to them, and that I like also one of my most unexpected moments from the workshop was how much they appreciated what I shared with them. Like it really validated, what I was trying to bring to the group, and they truly valued it, each of them. And I think we each truly valued each other's opinion and tried to help each other out. And I think that was really unique and unexpected going through there. Was there a really impactful moment for either of you that kind of stands out from the workshop?
I think watching others go through the journey. I think particularly for us, not knowing Chris, watching Chris start where he started and end where he ended, he's going through a really big change in life right now, coming out of the military and into civilian life. And Chris's number one priority is really his 2 daughters. And he has some regrets and he has some things he'd go back and do, but Chris is a family man. And so that really poured out and that played true throughout the whole experience. And I think for me, watching someone go through it, it's something to do it on your own, but then to watch someone that you've never met before, even to this day in our follow-ups, getting to know Chris and seeing where he's come, that just also is something you're not expecting. You don't expect to walk alongside somebody like that and feel that way for them. I feel like I've known Chris my whole life. We've known each other, 2 days together or some Zoom calls. But you want it for them. You want them to find it. You want to see them find success, and you find so much joy in that. Seeing where he is and where he came from on that journey just was a feeling I was not expecting when I walked in.
Yeah, I think if I would try to restate what you said and paraphrase it, the richness of the relationship with your cohort members developed in such a short burst of time cannot be understated. To the extent that you feel like I've known this person my whole life, and we spent 2 business days together and a couple afterwards. And that's from the prompting, the questions, and the science and the experience that kind of has Core Leadership Institute has kind of put into this. Manny, what do you leave with from like maybe a most impactful memory or moment from the event?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, it really comes back to those relationships. I think if you sit and you reflect about like, well, how's that possible? How is that possible that you meet someone for the first time and now you feel like you've been fast friends, and I'll stick with Chris. Like we were just on a Zoom call last week, and he asked me the questions that he had for me before we even got into the content. He asked about our ceremony up in High Point. Well, how are your parents? I'm sure they were so proud. Like, what? Like the questions he was asking were questions that even some of my closest friends like wouldn't even remember to ask. And so what stood out there was, well, how does that happen? I think it happens because of purpose. I think when you take the time to really talk about it and understand it and go through it with people, a friend, a colleague, a stranger, they get to really see what what gets you going every morning and like what that purpose is. And so, I mean, I was blown away. I mean, the questions that he was asking, I was like, Chris, that is so kind. It was great, man. I'm like, oh, like, thank you for asking. Like, so that was for me the kind of the moment there was, and I agree with what you said. Like, I don't know that I would get to where I'm at today without that session. Like, if I wouldn't gotten to those words, they heard something that I wasn't seeing or hearing, and so yeah, I think that was probably for me kind of there's a relationship that really at that moment.
Yeah, and it may feel abstract while we're going through it, but it's very structured. I mean, there's a lot of intentionality through the workshop, and even just through the, the time that we spend during the day, and just the breakout sessions, and just like the lunch breaks or the dinner that evening, getting kind of Sebastian, who's Kip's son, shared a story that Kip didn't even know about. Some of his European travels. Okay, so let's do the big reveal right here, Heather. What is your purpose statement?
Oh my gosh, I knew I'd have to go first.
Well, we can go to Manny.
I mean, we always plan this, so I just go first.
Thank you.
So my purpose statement is to light the spark that ignites greatness in others.
What a beautiful purpose statement.
Thank you.
Love it. And Manny, what is your purpose statement?
My purpose statement, that is my active purpose statement, would be illuminating the path, one story at a time.
Isn't there another tag down to that?
There is, and then I have a not, but very similar to yours. Like it's gotten shorter, it's gotten longer, but the tagline to it is a nod to my dad and to my parents, which is in Portuguese, sempre em frente, which translates to always moving forward. Keep moving forward.
Okay, so let's do it. So I know that's one of your favorite words.
Yeah.
So it's a great word. So illuminating the path.
Illuminating the path, one story at a time. Sempre em frente.
And so, Manny, I'll start with you this time. Give us a little bit. What does that mean? Like, what if someone said, well, what is illuminating the path, one story at a time? What does it? Give us a little bit more. What does that mean?
And something that I think about quite often right now, and I see it showing up in different parts of my day. On Sunday morning, I heard a message around wonder and light, and think about this time of year, how children look at lights, how they're drawn to these lights because of the wonder, and that look. And so, but then as we get older, like, do we still look at light with that same wonder, or now do we have other things that kind of take up our time, or that might distract us, or that might try to fool us? And so illuminating, I know that when you illuminate, when you shed light on something, you're giving it life. You're allowing it to kind of be present. And so that the word illuminating a light is powerful to me because I think everyone has that story. Everyone has that power, that presence. And so I love the fact that we can, or that this is for others, that we can take the time to recognize that. And so illuminating the path is really about helping others. It's really about helping others. And that might be just listening. That could be listening to them. That could be, hearing more about their story. But illuminating the path is really all about understanding, each other, being present, being a light, and doing it one story at a time.
In that sense, story is a metaphor for other people's stories, or is it your story, or is it people? What is one story at a time?
One story at a time is one person at a time. So it's not inward. It's absolutely external. And so it's meeting with a memory maker. It's meeting with a small business owner. It's meeting with a nonprofit, and understanding their story, what they're trying to achieve. And, and sometimes it's just highlighting, like, hey, how can we illuminate that? How can, is there anything I can do to help? sometimes it's just listening to that story and encouraging them. That might be what they need that day or for right now. So yes, it is those stories, and one story at a time is for others.
And Heather, give us a little bit more, unpack igniting the spark a little bit more for us.
For me, I believe everybody needs somebody, a cheerleader or a mentor, somebody to inspire them. And I believe that everybody has potential. But sometimes you just need that push, or you need someone to say you can do it. And so for me, I've seen this come up a lot in my life. There are a lot of people that helped me get to where I am today and help me believe in myself or cheer me on along the way. And I couldn't have done it without that. And so when I look at my own purpose, and whether it shows up at home or in the workplace, for me, I believe that I have the power and the purpose to be able to help you see greatness in yourselves and be able to help you hit that next milestone, be there to celebrate that milestone with you. And that's what I want to do. I want to give back to others. That's where I find my greatest joy, is being able to watch people do things they didn't think they could do.
That's wonderful. So, mine started longer. I'll read the long part, and then I got, because Nick would come in there and kind of see check on us. And so, and you kind of reflect on we get this whole core leadership workbook, and we go through things and phrases and words that others give us. And there's also a digital version of it, but I kind of like the analog version. And so your notes for your other partners, the notes they give for you guys, and then leaning on that, kind of what do you craft? And so play the game of life with a driven commitment that echoes and inspires others to rise to the occasion and reach their potential. And then I got talked into shortening that. But I was trying to say kind of the whole thing and the why behind some of these things. And then I shortened it to play the game of life. And then Nick said, no, it's just play the game. So the purpose statement is play the game. And Davin believes it should be play the game, : period, rise to the occasion. Yeah, or meet them on kind of syntax. But right now it's play the game. And so, Heather, you kind of alluded to this earlier. What does it mean to kind of walk and live in your purpose? Like, has there been a halo effect that's kind of carried on in the ensuing nearly 2 months since this kind of got articulated?
For me, in kind of one of my one-on-ones that happened that week, it was with Davin. And I know Davin pretty well, and he knows me pretty well, and he knows what I do at work and things like that. And I think for me, it was in those moments with Davin that he challenged me to go bigger and do more. Yes, if you're already doing that, Heather, great. How do you make it bigger? How do you go outside of your comfort zone? And so for me, it's Davin who's been in the back of my head the past few weeks. Like, I already know how to do that, but how can I do more? That's an easy way for me to impact somebody, but how can I do something different? And so that's really hung for me to slow down, think about it, and then think about the impact that I can make. Is it big enough? Is it going to make the impact I want? And so his support through the past few weeks for me, and as I've had some things come up at work the past few weeks where I've kind of heard Davin in my head, like, take the chance, try it, do it. And also his belief in me that I can do those things. And so for me, that halo is just, am I doing it as intentionally or as frequently as I want to? And is it giving the impact that I would like?
Yeah, that's great mentorship from Davin. Go Davin. So Manny, how has your purpose statement lingered? Has it kind of left that scent, if you will, in your life over the last 2 months since you've kind of had it crystallized?
I think what Heather mentioned there around slowing down, I think that's kind of what it forces you to do. I think, as you start to allocate time, as you look at the calendar, living in your purpose starts with kind of really understanding where you're placing your time and how you're placing your time. And so it's been a lot of thought, trying and iterating on looking at my calendar and where I can really kind of making sure that that's coming alive, that it's present, that I am pausing to listen to those stories and to be there and giving it enough time. And that's really what gets me fired off. And so I've got some exciting ideas for 2025 that are percolating and that I've shared with the group, what that might look like. And so the ideas that I probably would, I mean, not probably, I would have never have gone to by myself, but with the amazing team members that I have, they kind of encouraged and spurred me on to, hey, why not? Like, who else is doing something like that? And so it is lingered. I'm glad that it's lingered, because here's the other thing. You go to some of these seminars and you just have a start, and you get the middle, you get the end, and then that's it. And so I'm thankful, I'm grateful that it has lingered. I mean, it kind of speaks to how good and how intentional the process was.
Yeah. In full disclosure, our lives got back on the treadmill a little bit since the event ended. It with kind of some nonstop just activities and full calendars. And so I probably didn't do as much of the post work and reflection that was kind of suggested. It's not like it's required or mandated. And so when we had our first follow-up call, they're saying, well, how's purpose showing up for you? How are you playing the game? And I'm giving like business responses. Well, let me tell you, but like in our company, and I had a little bit of an accountability check by Ned. He said, yeah, but how's it showing up in your personal life? And you can play the game and there's different ways. Now, it's not just about fun, but how are you playing the game really well? Not just in business, but also at life in your personal life. And so that was a good kind of check moment, but it certainly has lingered. It's like, I think when you walk around like a little bit on cloud nine, once you kind of have this thing kind of unpacked and discovered, and you're just kind of like, you know something more about you that maybe you didn't know before, and you took the time to kind of do that excavation and that exploration, and it brings a lot of joy, and it's a good season to bring joy. Okay, so we are probably a little bit into overtime here, so let me just kind of ask you. Let's say someone is thinking about attending the Purpose to Impacts event workshop. What would you say to that person? What would you advise them? Should you attend with people you know or people you work with, or just go in with complete strangers? And that may be a leading question to you two, since y'all did go into it with people you know. So Heather, I'll start with you, and then Manny, the same question for you.
Yes, you should go, but you should only go if you are prepared to be very vulnerable and allow other people in, which is scary for most people, scary probably for all of us. So you have to know that going in, like, hey, I'm going to have to share some stuff and I'm going to have to go there, which may be hard for me internally and to share with others. But I think it will be worth it. And it's probably not as hard as you think it is. And I do think there's something really great going with somebody that you know. For me, there's a lot of comfort in Manny. And so having him as my partner, although at times, sometimes really hard to say things in front of him, also made me feel better about saying some of those things. So I think that it is beneficial to go with somebody you know. I don't know that I could have walked in there and not known a single soul and felt okay. So I think there is some comfort in knowing somebody or having a relationship or a face that makes you feel welcome.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Heather. Manny's ours.
Small sad. Well, I think you have to be present. You have to be present, and you have to commit. You have to commit to being vulnerable, to going through the process. And whether you do that with some strangers, which I think is highly beneficial, or whether you do it with really, really good colleagues, I think there's value in both. But ultimately, like, you have to be present. We have to be present and willing to take the time, take the breaths, and really do the reflection, do the work. But what if I told you that after doing that for 2 days, that it really could change how you approach not just work, but life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's well worth it.
Yeah.
Well worth it.
Yeah, well said. I think we're testaments that you can do it either which way. You can go with people you know or you don't know, and both can have tremendous success in going through the structured process of the workshop. And I think another advice I might give is you're going to make this investment in not just your time or maybe your financial resources. So not just commit those 2 days, do the prep work and really make sure that you carve out some time to kind of do the readings and the reflections, and be prepared to do some post work, and follow-ups. But you are going to come away with some lifelong friendships and relationships. If you take it seriously, if you commit, it's well worth it. we can go get so busy so easily, so quickly for long periods of time. And we can sometimes be swimming in a lane that we may find out I was swimming the wrong direction for years. And so what better gift to yourself to say, I'm going to go just pause and make sure that the steps I take are very intentional and going in the right direction, so that when I look back on my life, if I kind of begin with the end in mind and do one of these like regret minimalization tactics by AJ, you would all want to make sure you actually ran the right race, and went the right direction. I think that's what this kind of personal self-discovery can do for you. And it's like with someone who knows it better than anyone else in the world, who's done it for thousands of people. And so brings a lot of value to the table. So I think we're going to end it there. Unless, is there anything else? I mean, you got some stuff for 2025, and Davin's encouraging you to kind of make your thoughts and dreams bigger of how you're going to show up. So where do you think you're going to be 6 months from now if we checked in with you on your purpose journey?
I hope in a really good place. I have really good people around me and a lot of people supporting me and helping me make some pretty big decisions. And so I hope that I'm still following the same path and that I am slowing down and I'm taking time for me to live my purpose the way that I want to live my purpose and not how others see that I should live my purpose. And I do just want to give a really big thank you to Nick and to Davin, who led us through this in just the most remarkable way and have been really good at staying with us and sticking with us. And also I want to give a shout out to Caitlin, because none of this would have been possible without her setting it up here in Fort Mill and making it all kind of come to life to us, for us. It was a remarkable experience, but there's a lot of people that made it what it was.
Well said. Well said. Manny, 6 months from now, where's your mindset going to be? What's going to have been activated?
6 months from now. Well, Heather, thanks for going first. Thanks.
Anytime.
Thanks for going first there. Well, I hope that I'm still learning. I hope that 6 months from now, that I continue to reflect. I continue to use a lot of the learnings from this seminar. And so I'm confident I will, because I'm confident in the ecosystem that is my accountability partners and team that will kind of keep me on that path. And so, but I'm also really encouraged by it. I'm encouraged that, I'm encouraged for the next 6 months to see how this illumination and how illuminating the path for others, how that shows up and what impacts that might have, ripple impacts that might have. And so, so I'm really, really excited about that. Agree with all the shout outs. We have an amazing team. And so super thankful for that. Thankful for you taking time on your podcast to highlight this story. I think it's definitely one worth telling.
Our podcast, by the way, it is from Broad. It's a production of Broad River Retail. Hey, but thank you so much. In a couple of months, I'm going to cross a major kind of life threshold, a new decade, and so I like to joke that I'll be halfway there. So whatever there is. But what better point than at the midway point, kind of take stock and discover your purpose and kind of make sure you're going in the right direction for the next few decades or whatever gift we have, or the next few days or decades, hopefully. And so with that, we'll leave it there. It's a wonderful event. Thanks for joining me, Heather and Manny, not just on the purpose journey of going through the workshop, but here on this episode. Hey, thanks for joining us wherever you dial in or access this podcast, whether it's on YouTube, or Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your fresh podcast content. We try to bring you the freshest content. We're going into another year in 2025, every Tuesday and Thursday of what's taking place here at the river. So stories from the river. So thanks so much for joining us. Do us a favor, mash that like button or that subscribe button, or leave us a comment. Let us know what you'd like to see as we go into the new year. And we hope and wish all of you that you're still in your resolutions and that you're on the path to discovering your own purpose. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.